Hey loves and welcome back to my channel. It's Ijoma and we are going to sew this jumpsuit that has an open back, a belt at the back, and the front has this milkmaid cutout. We are going to learn how to draft the trouser and how to sew it, and it is going to be a freehand cutting. Now I have 4.5 yards of crepe. The person that I'm making this for is a plus size person, so I used 4.5 yards of crepe and it is by 60. So what we are going to do right now is that we'll fold out the fabric that we are going to use to cut out the trouser, and I'll be starting with the front part of the trouser, and that trouser is a palazzo trouser. Now after cutting out our trouser, we'll cut the top. So the trouser is going to be freehand. I don't want to do too much, it will be freehand. Now I am done folding out the fabric that I'll be using for the trouser, and this is a jumpsuit, right? So I'll be doing minus 18. Her half length is 18 inches, so I am doing minus 18. Let me trim off the rough edge before I start. Now I'll place 18 inches at the edge of that fabric. If I place 18 inches, from there I will come down to 27. Her shoulder to hip is 27, shoulder to knee is 38. It is a jumpsuit, so I made it 38, and the full length of this jumpsuit I want it to be 65 inches. I marked 60 and I'd added an extra 5 inches, and after marking these lines I will rule the lines. Then after ruling the lines, from my hip line I will come down by 1.5 for her crotch line. Like from my hip line I will come down by 1.5 for her crotch. You can make it 2 or 1, but I made it 1.5 because of her size. And this particular line that I'm marking below my hip is my crotch line. Now the first measurement you take on trousers is your hip. You divide your hip by 4. Our hip is 48 divided by 4, that is 12 plus 1, 13. I marked 13 inches, and that particular line I will extend it straight up to my waist. Then that line that I marked now is my center line, and from there I will take my waist measurement. Her waist is 41 divided by 4 plus 1 inch, and I'll go ahead and connect from my waist to my hip. So first of all, mark your hip. From the center line you will now mark your waist backwards. Now you measure her hip and divide it by 4, then divide it by 4 again. Let's say we divided her hip 48 by 4, that is 12. I'll divide the 12 by 4 again, and that is 3. And that was what I used for my crotch curve. So from the hip line I extended it by 3, and that is what I used for my crotch curve. Now this is a palazzo. I'm just trying to give it a little fitting. Just at the knee I took out 1 inch of both sides, and then I'll connect it straight down to the full length. This is a palazzo, so it is a free trouser. After getting your crotch curve, you will mark your straight line down to the full length. If you want, you can just take out 1 inch on both sides of the trouser so that it will be a bit fitted. Now after doing that, I'll go ahead and cut out. And like I said before, for the crotch, let me repeat, for the crotch curve you will divide your hip by 4, and whatever you got, divide it by 4 again. If your hip is 40, divide it by 4, that is 10. That 10 divided by 4 again, and you have 2.5. So 2.5 will be your crotch curve, and that is what I used from my center line to my crotch curve. And now after cutting this front, I will use it to cut out my back. For my back, I'm going to have a little difference there. Like the front and the back trouser will not be the same. There's going to be a little difference. So what you are going to do now is that we'll fold out another fabric and we'll place this front trouser on it. Now after placing the front trouser on it, you are going to add some extensions around the hip. The back of a trouser is usually bigger than the front. If you want to have a detailed tutorial on how to cut a trouser, you can register for our trouser online class, and you will have access to a detailed trouser class. So now what I'm going to do is that I will fold my fabric, and then I will place the front on it. And this front that I'm placing on it, I will leave an extra space at the top of the trouser and at the full length of the trouser. You can see the way I placed it now. I have an extra space at the top of this trouser, like at the waist area. The back will be longer than the front. Now after placing my fabric in a good manner, I will take out 2 inches from the center back. From the center back, I'll take out 2 inches and I'll transfer it to the hip. Then I'll add extra 2 to the I'll add extra 2 to the waist, extra 2 to the hip, extra 1.5 to the knee, and extra 1 at the full length. Then I will connect. You can see that I added extra 2 inches to the hip, extra 2 inches to the waist, extra 1.5 to the knee, and extra 1 to the full length, and I connected. You can see that the back is bigger than the front. Then from the new center back, I'll go up by 1.5 and I will connect it to my new waist. Then I will extend my crotch curve by 2 inches at the back. I'll connect to the knee. You can see I extended my crotch curve by 2. Then I will connect it up to my new waist at the back. Then I'll add extra 2 inches for my zipper allowance. The zipper allowance of this trouser will be at the back, so these 2 inches will stop at the hip line, and you can see what my zipper allowance looks like. Now I'll go ahead and cut out. I said that from the center back, from the center front, I took out 2 inches and I transferred that 2 inches to the side of the trouser. Then I added extra 2 to the hip, extra 1.5 to the knee, extra 1 inch at the full length. Then you can see the crotch curve of the back. I added extra 2 inches to the crotch extension. Like the back crotch is 2 inches longer than the front crotch. Now I am done doing that. The next thing I'm going to do now is to join the center front of my trouser, and I will close the zip allowance of the trouser. I am not adding any darts to this jumpsuit. Now I'll go ahead and cut out my sleeve. The sleeve of this particular jumpsuit is long. Like if your sleeve is 24 inches, you should go ahead and make it like 27. So I folded my sleeve 2 times, and I'm going to make this sleeve 30 inches. Her full sleeve length is 26, but I made it 30 inches. That is including sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead and cut out 30 inches long fabric. Now I'll cut it out, and this is what I'm going to use for my sleeve. So our sleeve is going to have a little slit at the side. Our sleeve will have a little slit at the side. So what I'm going to do right now is that, first of all, I will mark her normal sleeve. You know how we mark a normal sleeve curve? So from the top of the sleeve, I will mark a normal sleeve curve. And after marking a normal sleeve curve, I will take her normal sleeve measurement plus 1 inch, the elbow measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch. So her sleeve is 18 inches divided by 4 plus 1, I marked. Her elbow is 14 inches divided by 2, plus 1 inch, I marked. Then after marking this, after getting this normal measurements, you mark your sleeve curve, and then you will come down a little and then give it like an A-line shape at the full length. You can see the way I added an A-line shape to the full length of this sleeve. Sorry, this video may look fast, but it is too long, so I'm trying to like compress it so that it will not be too long. It will be so boring. So if you miss any point, you can rewatch in order to get. Then I'll go ahead and cut a facing for this sleeve. Like this facing will have, this sleeve will have a lining from the full length, and to stop somewhere around somewhere before the elbow. So I'm going to cut out a facing for my sleeve, and you can see the way I'm cutting it. Like if I fold my fabric, I'll fold it again, and then I'll cut out 2 facing for that sleeve. Because if you check that sleeve, it has a slit, and you need to turn that sleeve with a lining. So I'm using this fabric as the lining also, so that it will look very neat. So this place that I marked that line on that sleeve is where my lining will stop at. The lining will cover this A-line part of that sleeve. Then I will cut out. So this lining that I have here, I'll add a hard gum to it. You can add a light interface or a hard gum, but the reason why I added a hard gum to it is that I want the sleeve to be firm. I want the sleeve to be very firm. That A-line area that has a slit, I want it to be very firm. So this is what I have. This is the lining that we use to turn only that A-line area of that sleeve, and I will add a hard gum to it. I told you guys I'll add a hard gum, but if you want to add a soft gum to it, you can add a soft gum. So this is the soft gum or soft interface that I will add to it. Then I will keep that aside. Now I've drafted a basic bodice, the front and the back, and you can see I added a v-neck to the front. For the back, I will go ahead and cut out the back first of all. I'll cut out the back, and this back will not have zipper allowance. It will not have zipper allowance. It will not have that, all those things. No, just cut out your normal back bodice, and after cutting out your back bodice, you will give it your open back shape. You know, the back of this dress is open, the back of this jumpsuit is open, so you give it that open back shape according to how open you want it to be at the back. So right here, I'm done cutting out my back, and I did not add any zip allowance to it. This zip allowance is there, but then we are going to cut it off because it is going to be open at the back, and that back will have a belt, right? So what I'm going to do right now is to mark out the shape that I want the back to have. Now this is the front pattern, and I will give it this mark from the neckline to 1 inch below the underbust. So the neckline stopped at 1 inch above the bust point. If you want the neckline to come down more, it's up to you. Now after giving it that cover, I'll cut it out and fold the fabric. And this particular fabric, now I want to close my dart on this fabric. I want to close my dart on paper. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, so that when I'm joining it, I will not have to close my dart. So now after cutting off the dart, I'll use a masking tape to close it, or you can just place it like this and add 1/2 inch to that curve, that underbust curve that I gave it. Add 1/2 inch to it, because that 1/2 inch is what you are going to use to join it to the upper part of the bustier of the front. Now there's no back dart, there's no front dart. We are eliminating all our darts on paper. This is what it looks like. The next thing we are going to do right now is to slash and spread. This particular one that we have here, we are going to slash and spread it a little, and the slashing and the spreading will be at the underbust only. It will not reach the shoulder. Just slash and spread only. Then at the side, I took out 1.5 inch from my side dart. This is very important, so I'm cutting off the side dart. After cutting out that 1.5, I will use masking tape and close it. Closing your dart on paper is very important, so that you will not have extra fabric at the side of your dress after making it. Now after closing that dart, you are going to start slashing and spreading. So I'll just mark like 2 lines, because the slash and spread I'm doing will not be much. That's why I'm marking 2 lines. Now after slashing and spreading, I'll place it on my fabric and I'll open it a little, and then I will cut out. Now I am done cutting, and this is what I have. The next thing that I'm going to do is that I will cut a facing for the 2 of them. You know, after cutting, there are 2 pieces, so I'll go ahead and cut a facing for the 2 of them. Now this facing will cover the neckline. You can use a bias to turn this neckline, but facing is always better, so that's why I'm cutting out a facing. So this is the facing, and this is the main body. So I will gather it a little around the underbust, just a little. Now this is the back. The next thing I'm going to do this back now is to give it the open back that I want it to have. Now I'll come down by 1 inch or 1.5 for button allowance, and then I will mark my opening. It depends on how open you want it to be at the back. So my own, I came in by like 5 inches from the center, and this is what I have. So this particular one that I'm done cutting here, I'll also cut out a facing for it, because you know we are going to attach a belt to the back of this dress, so we are going to attach a facing to it, so that the belt will be in between the main fabric and the facing, so that it will be very neat and beautiful. You can use bias to turn the back, but I don't know, using a facing is always better. Now I'll go ahead and cut out a facing for that back. So this one I'm cutting right here is the belt. I want to cut out the belt before cutting the facing because it will save fabric for me. If I cut the facing, my belt may have join, and I don't like my belt. I don't want my belt to have any joining. So I am cutting my belt first before my facing. So I am trying to manage this fabric, but it is not working. That 4.5 yard that I got, I was already managing at this point because this dress has so many pieces and so many facing. It consumed, this jumpsuit consumed fabric. It looks simple, but it consumed fabric. Now after doing that, I will cut out my facing. So this is me cutting out the facing for my back, and after doing that, I will turn my belt. I will fix my belt in between this facing and the main fabric, and then I will join. Now this is the front of the jumpsuit. Sorry, this is the back of the jumpsuit. I've closed the zipper allowance. I hope you can see the zipper allowance. I'll iron that zipper allowance. Then after ironing it, I'm done ironing it. It's very important so that when it is time for me to join my zipper, I will know the particular line that my zipper will be on. So after doing that, I'll place the front on it. I am also done joining the center front of my trouser. Just use 1/2 inch to join the center front. And like I said, I did not add any darts to this jumpsuit. Now I'll go ahead and take my waist measurements and my hip measurements. This trouser is palazzo, right? So once you take your waist measurements and your hip measurements, the rest can be free. So I'll take my waist measurements and my hip measurements, and then once I get the two measurements, waist and hip, I will use 1 inch to shape it straight down. I'll also use 1 inch to shape the inner trouser, but before I shape the inner trouser, I will have to hem the full length of the trouser before shaping the inner parts of that trouser. I'm not adding any pockets to this, but if you want to add pockets to yours, you can add pockets to it, but I want it to look smooth at the front, and that is the reason why I am doing that. Now, after taking my measurements, I'll go ahead and join. After joining the side, I'll come back and show you guys. Now, I am done joining the side of that trouser. This is the full length, right? I'll go ahead and hem the full length. First of all, I'm removing my pins. After removing the pins, I will hem the full length of the trouser. I have not joined the inner part of the trouser. So, hem the full length, fold the full length, and then shape the inner part of the trouser. You can use 1/2 inch or you can use 1 inch to shape the inner part of the trouser. Now this is the back, and I am done turning my belt. You can see my belt. I'm done turning my belt. I will insert the belt, like I'll pin the belt first, then I'll cover it up with the facing. You can see what I'm doing right there. So this belt will be in between the facing. When I'm about to sew, I will close my neckline, the neckline, the normal neckline, and this neckline of this open back, so that it will give me a very nice finishing. And I'll also advise you all to pin it down so that your belt will not shift from that point where you fixed it at. Now these are my sleeves, and I am done adding hard gum to the facing, and I also folded that facing. So I'll turn the side and the down part of the sleeve with this facing. It will give it a very neat finishing. So you can see I am done turning the side and the full length of that sleeve, the hemline of the sleeve, and I'm folding it in. So this facing is very important. It will help give your sleeve a very fine finishing. It is very important. It will give your sleeve a very fine finishing. So now after turning this sleeve, this is what I have. I will iron it, and after ironing, I will take my measurements and shape. So once you get to that place where your facing stopped at, you will stop also. Now we are done with the back, we are done with the sleeve, and we are done with the trouser part. The next thing that we are going to focus on now is the front. But I will use hemming gum. First of all, I'll use hemming gum to hold down this facing before shaping. I hope you understand. So right now, my sleeve is ready. Over to the front. This is the underbust area of our front, right? And I will close the front with my facing. I've turned the neckline of the front with a facing. If you want, you can use bias, but I don't use bias. So you can see the reason why I added a side dart, so that after gathering, everything will relax. Now this is our back. We are done fixing our belt and everything is in place. So that top area is where we are going to fix our button, and our back is looking ready. So now we are done joining the front. You can see I gathered it a little at the underbust. I don't know if you can see that very well. I gathered it a little at the underbust, and now I'll go ahead and pin the back. I'll shape the side, I'll shape the shoulder, and I'll overlock. So as I was making these jumpsuits, as I'm sewing, I'm weaving. As I'm sewing, I'm weaving. So I'll just go ahead and take my body measurements and I will shape. So pin it down. It is very important. Pin it down before anything. So right now I am done shaping, and this is what I have. I am done shaping and ironing. I'll go ahead and trim my half length. After trimming my half length, I'll trim my armhole, and after doing that, I'll fix my sleeve. Like I told you guys, shape your sleeve, and your shaping will stop at that area where your sleeve stopped at. So after trimming this armhole, I'll fix my sleeve, and I'll also add my trouser. The trouser part is really easy. So if you are trimming your half length, remember your belt. Make sure that your belt is not coming in, so that you cannot cut it. Now, after trimming this half length, I'll go ahead and add the jumpsuit part. So if you are adding, make sure that the waist measurements match. I don't join my jumpsuit front to front, back to back. No, I shape the top separately. I shape the down part separately before I join. So I'll just go ahead and join the jumpsuit. And after joining it, this is what we have. So you overlock the remaining space at the back. You will weave the remaining space at the back and fold it. If you fold, you run a stitch, fold and run a stitch, and then you fix your zipper. That zipper, you remember, this is the reason why I said you should iron your zipper allowance, so that you know where your zipper will stop at. So after fixing my zipper, I'll also fix my sleeve, and that will be it for the tutorial. So this is my sleeve. Thank you all so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe. Bye.